stream. There we are.
Hello, we are live on a Ovadia Heart Health telemedicine live stream. We have Krisna Hanks, who is the Ovadia Heart Health Director of Employee Wellness and a health coach with a long career of experience in that field, as well as she was a professional dancer for quite some time. So I'm going to be happy to get the chance to talk to her about building and maintaining muscle strength and fitness in one's 50s and beyond. Krisna and I are both over the 60 age mark, and we're both getting along pretty well, I think. So I'm going to enjoy this conversation with Krisna. And if you have questions, if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or on X, you can find it on the iFix Hearts X feed or on my Biggest Comeback X feed. Just shoot the questions into the live stream, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. So I guess with that said, Krisna, tell me a little bit about your experience. I mean, first of all, as a professional dancer, but then maintaining that health and fitness many years after your professional dancing career ended.
Well, thanks very much, Chris, for hosting, and wonderful to be here. Topic certainly, anything movement related is dear to my heart, not just because of the dance background, but I, post my dance career, I also got my master's in kinesiology, master's of science in kinesiology from Indiana University. So I'm totally interested in what can we do from a movement perspective to enhance our longevity? And yes, you and I both wear that badge of honor. We're over 60, stripes earned. And I think I'm just going to kick it off with my biggest revelation, obviously, as a professional dancer, flexibility. You're all about flexibility. That is a cornerstone of the job, as well as obviously the dance part, but that seems to be high on your priority of what you're concerned with. And what I realized, maybe the hard way as I aged, that too much emphasis on one component of fitness is not a great longevity strategy, meaning there's so many components, right? Balance, stretch, strength, coordination. But strength, as the topic of today, for many females, I think, kind of gets sort of downplayed. They love to talk about their flexibility, and not that isn't important, but I think that's the shift that changed for me, particularly, I'm going to say, post 60. Now I'm seeing myself, just looking at my muscular system, going, wow, there's some things that are not going in the right direction here. We need to make a change. I think incorporating strength training of some kind is, I see it as a key component of how we age with strength.
One thing I should do before we go any further, you're bringing up some fascinating points, and I definitely want to get into some detail. I should put the disclaimer on just briefly so that we all know that this is not medical advice. It's not actually advice specifically for anyone. It's just information that we're sharing. And if you want to get involved with the Ovadia Heart Health practice, you can definitely do so. You can reach out and schedule a call with one of our coordinators. We'll put the link on the screen. I just wanted to get that out of the way. For starters, Krisna, there's a lot of people that are of the age of 50 or 60 or whatever, and they kind of are resigned to just accepting what they have for the rest of their life, figuring that, it's hard to build muscle, hard to build strength, and it's just something that they don't do because they don't think they have the potential. Can you maybe dispel some myths about how hard it is to get started and making real tangible improvements without going crazy in terms of time or crazy amounts of effort and the whole no pain, no gain type of thing? Just tell people what is realistic for them to do when they're of this age.
Great question. And so many, I think, myths still remain around how much exercise, whether you're in that philosophy, as you say, no pain, no gain. But, let's even point to some of the people who've been in this field for decades, like myself, Dr. Ben Bokikio. Right, his book, 15 Minutes to Fitness, says 2 times 15 minutes a week should be enough if you're training smart, working. He works in that slow resistance training effort, and he's seen results for 50 years. So we can point to that direction. It's no secret, and maybe my accent always gives me away. I lived in the Netherlands for a couple decades. I have a Dutch citizenship. There's a very prominent exercise physiologist named Luc, L-U-C, von Loon, L-O-O-N. He's been researching muscles, muscle maintenance, how do we age with strength for decades. And he says, you can give me any person, and if I get them in the right, program 2 to 3 times a week, I think he says even less than 30 minutes, I can show muscle maintenance and change even above the age of 80. So I think those are experts in the field, but just the reality is I saw changes on my body at post 60. And I think a couple things that we can maybe let go of is, maybe I'm not going to look like someone 20 or 30 who goes to the gym and has a really committed routine, because they have a few advantages on me. They're several decades younger. However, I can have some good quality, strong muscles. I can be enhancing my longevity prospects, and also just feeling good. You started with the comment about no pain, no gain. There's something about when your muscles feel strong, that confidence level goes up. At least that's that's what I see in my clients, and that's what you hear from lots of people.
Well, great points. I think from my own personal experience, far too often I was always tempted to take on more than I really could handle at a given time. And you just alluded to the fact of starting smaller and progressing. Do you have any tips about that? Like how much you can take on? How do you, because it, you feel like down because you're not in shape and you want to get progress fast. But sustainability is a huge part of this. So what do you tell your clients?
Right. So let's think about that. First, I think if you've been doing zero, you just start with a walking program and get yourself moving as much as you possibly can. As you progress and you get better at that, you're feeling a little of that. Then you might start incorporating some basic resistance training efforts. And again, it doesn't have to be hours in the gym. And when we talk resistance training, we could mean body weight resistance. That's your old-fashioned, some wall squats, some countertop push-ups to start with. Again, if you've been doing zero, just things where something is resisting your body, the wall, the floor, your own body weight in isometrics. Then you might progress to something a little, again, safer. Machines are often safer for individuals because it puts you in exactly the right position. I strongly advocate for whether it's Dr. Ben's 15 Minutes to Fitness or Doug McGuff, the slow resistance training. Slow resistance training has fewer, let's say, less risk of injury because you're doing it slow, you're maintaining your form. And again, a little side tangent, I think to having good form means having good core strength. So for some people, just enhancing and strengthening their core is going to help them get started on a program. Pilates is a good place. Pilates training has good core exercises in it. There's other methods in there. But I think those are kind of key ways as you're getting started, and to never jump to too much, too quickly, too fast, whether that's you're doing too many reps, too high weight, trying to do it in a unreasonable short amount of time, I think those are where people often kind of can slip into getting themselves hurt. Because ultimately, when you're in our age group, right, Chris, you don't want to get hurt. Because that, one, takes us long to recover, but it should be a priority.
Oh, some great answers. And so basically, if you're talking about somebody like Dr. Ben, who I've personally had the opportunity to meet and talk to on numerous occasions, I always run into him at the Symposium for Metabolic Health, where he's very frequently a speaker, and he will be speaking this January, along with our own Dr. Phil Ovadia, who will be presenting at the Symposium in Boca. I think that's January 23rd to 26th. And I'll just throw this in there that anybody that wants to register for that conference, if you use code IFIXHEARTS, you can save 20% off your tickets and any optional CME credits. So I'll just throw that in there. That's at the lowcarbusa.org website. But Krisna, when you talk about 15 minutes, like twice a week, that seems like a very manageable amount of time. Now, what level of intensity is needed to get results on a workout like that?
Great. Well, it seems that where we've kind of evolved over this idea, now there are a lot of people who adhere to it. And again, there's just like there's one diet fits no one, right? One way to exercise fits no one. You have to make it work for you and where you see the best results. Results matter. That said, there's a lot of pretty good evidence to say one set of repetitions to failure seems to be really effective for a lot of people. Now, there are people who will say, well, you need to do the regular 3 sets. And I would say, do that if you're getting results and that works for you. And that's the method that you will be consistent with. Where we also see is this idea of doing your repetition slowly. Right? Again, much the premise of the X3 system, if you're not familiar with that, by John Jaquish. He's also been a guest with Dr. Ovadia on the podcast. And that system is also in that slow resistance where you're working in both directions. So there's never really a pause in your work until you're really done. You hit your max. So I do think that, and personally, I like that idea of the one set to failure because it's so great on your time. You can get a really sort of great workout in 15 or 20 minutes.
Yes, I appreciate so much of what you're saying. Number one, the fact that there's individuality involved here, and some of it involves getting a plan that you like and that you can stick with. I know from just being on social media, you post a video, and inevitably, if it gets a lot of engagement, somebody's going to complain that you're doing it wrong, you're doing too many, you're doing not enough, you're doing, you're not going down far enough. And yeah, there's little tweaks that you can always improve and optimize. Of course, you want to avoid injury. That's probably the most important thing. But when it comes to what you're actually doing, it sounds like you are saying that there's a lot of ways to get that 80% of the results, and that some of the little tweaking maybe would come later after you're on the right. If you want to take it further, I'm sure you could work with a specialist, a trainer who could really hone in on every last detail. So talk to me a little bit about you. You made some great points about injuries. Any other tips that you have for avoiding injuries besides for the slow reps with good form?
Absolutely. Well, good from a movement perspective. Good core strength, I think, is a key to having good form in how you execute your exercises, because form is very important on that. I think something that people often overlook is, and it sounds so old school, but I'm going to say it anyway, a good warm up, and a good cool down. And that does not also have to take a lot of time. I'm very fond myself. I'll do, there's something called a mini band, which is a small band. We've even done it with our employee wellness program, a little mini band workout, some back and forth, get the body temperature back up, a few mobility, again, not flexibility. I don't consider stretching a warm up, but some mobility drills, and then just a couple of minutes to do a couple of breaths, maybe a stretch or two at the end. I think as we age, we have to be more diligent about how we package everything. I think those are some key. But let's also talk about I hate to use this word, elephant in the room, of good metabolic health. Because if you're metabolically fit, you've got less inflammation in the body, you have less volatility. That could contribute in some way to you being more vulnerable for injury. And I think the old Jack LaLanne quote, right? Nutrition is king, exercise is queen, and together you have a kingdom. Some way, shape, or form that I might have gotten them mixed up, but it's very true.
Yeah, that's some more great points. I saw that Drew on X asked about some specifics. I know that we've already discussed that there's a lot of individuality here, but he asks how often, what's the most effective rep set range, and is there any benefit to isolation exercises past combination exercises besides for aesthetics? Any thoughts on that, and or even if you want to just mention somebody that would be a good person to follow for some of those answers?
Yeah, well, I think there's an individual named Drew Bay, Baye. He's a longtime, I think, advocate of more of Dr. Doug McGough's work. And has a lot of very specifics on training protocols and individuals. And as we mentioned, Dr. Ben Bokikio has protocols in his book as well as videos online. Those are two that you see really good results from the individuals that do work with them. I see also that Drew mentioned something about metabolic health in terms of that. Well, Dr. Ben Bickman is a big advocate. I quote him often in saying that your biggest bang for your buck, metabolically speaking, is strength training. And again, that resistance training is that 2 or 3 times a week? Are you someone who does maybe the X3 system and does 4 times, but it's, a push day, a pull day, a push day, a pull day? Finding the routine that works best for you, where you're seeing your metabolic health improve, but that's going to have to be in combination with a good diet. From our perspective, good protein, low carbohydrates and sugar, no processed foods, all of that journey. And I think it's also, I'm going to, sort of just make a side jump here. I think Mark Sisson's foundation, his pyramid in primal health, is probably one of the best aging strategies. He had that foundation at the bottom, move as much as you can over the course of the day, 2 to 3 times a week, resistance training. He has it on the sideals, play, and rest, right? We haven't talked about that when we talk about injury prevention. I see a lot of people actually over-exercising. They're not putting that rest and recovery into it. And then he has some other little pieces into there, but those are the foundations that if you want a real good framework, you can't beat the primal health fitness pyramid, I don't think.
Yeah, I can. I'll just share a little bit in response to Drew's question, a little bit about my own personal experiences and your points about rest, recovery. Very important. I know that when I first started I guess it was at age 53, trying to get back into the fitness. I was trying to do what I had done when I was in my 20s, and I was making gains in terms of strength, but I was also getting injured more than I should have. And I don't think I was taking into consideration the fact that I was now in my 50s. So I sort of spread out. I hit each body part less frequently now, no more than every 5th day for me. And I definitely prioritize sleep much more than I used to. And I try to make sure that I'm, the other thing that I've done is I used to go for 1 rep maxes far too often. And now I don't think I've gone for a 1 rep max in this entire calendar year. And may never do one again. You know, it's like, why bother? For me, I'm usually in the 5 to 12 or more range for my rep count. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not, for my age group, a proponent of that 1 rep in that way, just from that injury risk standpoint. Again, I think finding the ways that we see. So you were paying attention to what was happening with your body. Injuries were a little more frequent. They're less frequent now. So the training protocols that you're working with now are working. And I love that you mentioned also sleep. And this is a key component, right? All the lifestyle figures fit into play. It's like a puzzle piece.
Excellent. Paul M., either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, shared a comment. He talks about his own patients in the ER and how if you're over 70 and break a hip, you have a near 50% mortality rate over the next year. I would love to hear your thoughts on what this exercise does for the chances, or the reducing your chances of actually falling and breaking a hip.
Yeah, and thanks for that comment, Paul. And you know, obviously, you would be somebody Doug McGuff is an ER surgeon who also got very heavily into the fitness in trying to keep people out of his ER room, much like Dr. Ovadia is trying to keep people off his heart operating table. And those are statistics that I hear about that. If you listen to any of the longevity gurus, whether you're a fan of Peter Attia, of Mark Hyman, Gabrielle Lyon, I don't consider him a longevity guru, but he's definitely in the muscle space, of Mike Mitzel from, I can't think of Health Enhancement, I believe, High Intensity Health, I believe is his website, and he has lots of videos on there. But this is the issue. If you fall and you've got weak muscles, and subsequently if you've got weak muscles, you tend to have weak bones because the strength is not resisting them, you're at greater risk of falling. You're at greater risk when you do fall, the injury is more intense. And we know from statistics that is a consequential thing. Then you start to get these sequelae things, right? You're not moving, your immune system gets more compromised, and all the various things that happen. I love his comment, Paul M. Muscle mass gives you improved balance and mobility beyond the metabolic effects. And I just want to make a quick note too, because you see this within the female population particularly. Exercise has been sort of touted as a weight loss maneuver. I would hope maybe in 2025, on my bucket list, if we could ditch that in the trash can forever, that would be a big it might help you maintain your weight, but it, in my perspective, has done so many people a disservice because they get in these exercise routines, whether it's strength training or other, and they don't lose the weight. They get discouraged. They think it's not working. And what we need to bring back is what Paul is talking about here, and also what Drew mentioned, is balance, coordination, muscle strength. You're increasing you're lessening your risk of falls. You're lessening your risk that your muscular system is compromised. And this is an aging strategy.
Absolutely. Now, I want to just throw up on the screen. Ovadia Heart Health has a team of health coaches, and we also have a very impressive employee wellness program, which you are the director of. I want to share a couple of links. First, even though this is not one of our employee wellness calls, but there is so much overlap. The Krisna has just put out in the last few months 3 white papers. They are on interesting topics, including movement, including not being sedentary. She has one on addiction, and what was the second one on again? The title is
the mindset. Mindset matters. Right.
All important subjects, and she's got more on the way. All 3 white papers are available for free at ovadiahearthealth.com/wellness. And then there's also ways of getting in touch with our team if you are interested in an employee wellness program. And then if you're interested in working with the practice, and this is a telemedicine practice call, you can get on ifixhearts.com/talk and talk to our metabolic health coordinator. We don't have to rush off, Krisna, but we've definitely gone more than 20 minutes. Are there any other aspects of that would be interesting to people that tuned in to hear about building, maintaining muscle, and what words of optimism and guidance do you have for them?
Well, I think I'm saying this a lot this year, because we kicked this off with particularly focusing on those individuals over 50, and as we know, we're both beyond that. But if you think about trying to age with strength, I like to say there's 2 levers you can pull. You can pull the resistance training lever, and you can pull the nutrition lever, and with nutrition, that's getting your protein right. There are many more other details and finesse to that, but if you're short on time and you're trying to looking, what's my biggest bang for my buck on timing wise, is figure out a short resistance training routine that's going to work for you consistently, and get somebody to help you, or if you've already figured out your protein right, because those are 2 of kind of the big avenues that you have possibility to support your efforts the most.
Is there any rule of thumb for protein? I know we can't give specific advice because there's just too many variables and we don't give advice like that. But I can tell you that my results increased dramatically when I went from what was probably a pathetic 90 or so grams of protein per day, and for the last more than 5 years, I've been going for about 200 grams per day. Any thoughts on protein that you could leave people with?
Great question. Well, first and foremost, I had a 20-year vegetarian, let's say, exploration, let's put it that way, which left me incredibly deficient on protein. I would like to say my wish for most people is a very animal-based whole foods are your sources, and that can be fish, meat, eggs. If you do dairy, those are your sources. I feel they give you the biggest bang for your buck. If you are a vegetarian, you're going to have to heavily supplement and do that precisely with an expert who can help you on that. In general, I found for most individuals, utilizing that range of anywhere from 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of either ideal body weight or goal weight, or where you weight-wise function really well. Again, that's a broad strokes. We're not giving personal advice, but I see most people find their sweet spot within that range. And I also see good results, and this comes from the work of John Lehman and Gabrielle Lyon and Mike Munsell on that, particularly thus in the older group, whether you believe in the 30 grams or 40 grams per meal threshold, that muscle protein synthesis is necessary, especially for our older individuals, and that can greatly enhance your strength training efforts.
Oh, Krisna, you've given such good information, practical things that I think would give people optimism that they can improve their lot. And it's really important for health, lifespan, health span, quality of life. It's just things that, we take things for granted, but you can honestly improve your chances of having enjoyment out of those later years of your life, and it certainly beats the alternative. I want to just I'll throw the link on one more time. If you are interested in either of the white papers, just hop on ovadiahearthealth.com/wellness. That's pretty easy to remember, ovadiahearthealth.com/wellness. And then if you are interested in talking to one of our metabolic health coordinators, ifixedhearts.com/talk. It's been really a pleasure to talk with you today, Krisna, and I would love to gather more questions in this topic and continue this conversation sometime again.
Let's do it. I'm passionate about it. You're passionate about it. And I just want to encourage anyone, even if you're not doing anything right now, it's a great time to finish the year strong. You've got a couple of weeks here. You don't have to wait till January 1. It's just start thinking about what are you doing to get strong.
Awesome. Well, with that, I will say goodbye to our audience and take care, Krisna. I'll see you back at Ovadia Heart Health.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.